This is the Danger Close podcast, Beyond the Books with me, Jack Carr. Welcome to the Danger Close podcast, an Ironclad original presented by SIG Sauer. My guest today is my friend, Chad Prather. Chad is a musician, a comedian, the host of the Chad Prather Show on the Blaze Network, and just an all-around great guy. He is on the front lines of the debate about the First Amendment in particular, which we talk about on this podcast. But he's running for governor of Texas. And you can follow him at watchchad.com. You can link to everything from there. And you can go to Prather, Prather 2022.com to find out about his run for governor. Had a great time talking to him. Awesome guy. So now, without further ado, Chad Prather. Yeah, man, let's just hop right in.
Let's do it, man. Yeah, you know me, so you know it's got to be a crazy one.
Oh, man, always. I'm so fired up for everything you have going on. And
Thanks,
I want to jump into some politics with you because you are running for governor of Texas. Is this true?
100% true. We had our first gubernatorial debate last night, so things are heating up.
No kidding. And so were you up there last night? I didn't see it. How did that work out?
Yeah, no, it was good. We've got three primary candidates. Well, there's others, but I've got three. There's three main primary candidates that are trying to primary Abbott in 22. So it's pretty intense, man, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I want to get to that, but let's get up to that point.
Okay.
And love the show. You have a great crew out there. It was so fun to come on set with you and hang out for a little bit. And then we've done one virtually because of COVID, of course. But you're crushing it with your show. You're on the road doing the stand-up type stuff. And you're running for governor. And you got a lot going. And you have a book out. You got a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff going on, man.
I love it. I love it. Stuff. Yeah. So let's go. How did you grow up? Did you grow up with this passion for politics or for
no? Well, I'll
arguing,
tell you, Jack,
debate, anything like that?
I grew up. To me, it was like I grew up with deep convictions, right? So I kind of grew up with this sense of right and wrong in the world, and the way people should be, and the way we should treat our neighbors and stuff. And I just kind of felt like government ought to stay out of our lives, right? It's so the further we got, it started bothering me, right? As a young person, like in college, it started bothering me that people couldn't just discuss ideas and debate and have discussions and disagree and still be friends, right? I was at the University of Georgia. And, the university setting is kind of a crazy place to try ideas. It's the place you should be trying ideas. And I got this real strong sense of what I thought was, injustice in the world. And so I became kind of outspoken in regards to that. And it kind of came out in a conservative way, like I would speak out on campus on various social issues like abortion and small government and your right to bear arms and things like that. And in a liberal arts leaning towards progressive liberal setting like the university setting, it's not always the best position to be in when you're kind of a conservative guy. And then, as I got older, I started watching the world change, right? It went from, the university setting to now it's a cultural setting across the board. And so years ago, when I got into doing humor and comedy, I said, I'm not going to do political humor. I'm going to stay away from it. I love politics. I love culture, but I'm going to stay away from it. That lasted about 6 weeks. And I said, if Washington, D.C. and our governments and on the state level are going to keep writing the jokes, I might as well tell them. And then it really heated up back in the 2015 primaries, 2016 election, when I didn't like any candidate, right? Like I didn't like any of them on either side. I didn't understand. Like Trump made no sense to me. And like Hillary Clinton definitely didn't make sense to me. But then there were all these other primary candidates. And so I did a video back then saying that trying to figure out which candidate to choose is like trying to figure out which venereal disease you're most okay living with for the next 4 to 8 years. It's so, it kind of came around again. So quite honestly, when I went into the voting booth in 2016, for me, there were two boxes. It was Hillary Clinton and not Hillary Clinton. And so I voted not Hillary Clinton. And, I came around like Trump kind of jumped on the scene, and things really just kind of snowballed culturally, right? I mean, everybody was offended by everything. And we saw the advent of this woke culture. Woke culture came along, and everybody, social justice issues became the be all end all. And that was the thing everybody was discussing and arguing over. But again, back to the original point, we lost our ability to debate and discuss and have differing opinions. And so, then we saw cancel culture come along and things like that. And so for me, rather than backing off, it kind of threw fuel on the flame for me. It increased my desire to tell jokes about it on stage, to discuss it on television, to write about it, hence the book and various blog stuff that I do. And so it just kind of started shaping my life over the last 6 years. And then last year, I kind of saw some infringements that were going on the state level in Texas with all the coronavirus shutdowns. And so I said, you know what? Put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and actually run for office, which is another thing that I said years ago. I said, I'll never run for office. That lasted about 5 years when I made that commitment to myself.
Oh, so better than the 6 weeks.
Yeah. Well, that lasted out a little bit longer. I was actually I was in South Dakota. I was having dinner. I was sitting there with a group of folks. Don Trump Jr. was sitting across the table, and we were waiting on, this was July 2nd of last year. And I was waiting on Senior, the president, to come speak at Rushmore the next night for July 3rd. And that was going to be their first fireworks display in like 16 years at Mount Rushmore. And so I'm sitting there, we're having dinner, I'm drinking some wine, feeling pretty good, beautiful setting. And my phone goes off and I get a notification that says in the state of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott's deemed certain businesses non-essential. And I was like, man, that's a constitutional violation. You start getting into stuff like that. And you just start kind of unilaterally shutting people's businesses down and where they can go, whether it's the church or the gym or whatever. And so I don't know if it was because I was drinking wine or because I was sitting across the table from a Trump, but I got on Twitter because that's where you go, right? And I said, I'm going to run for governor in Texas in 2022. And went to bed that night, woke up the next day, quite honestly, Jack, to a shitstorm, dude. It was like, boom. It was blowing up. People were excited about it. They were fired up. And I realized that there were a lot of people who were upset with Abbott here in Texas. And by and large, there's a ton of conservatives across the state that just really feel like he kind of dropped the ball. So we're in it, man. We're in this primary season, doing this thing for the election next year. Of course, the book came out. The tour has kind of, the live comedy stuff that I do, as well as music, kind of taken a back seat because of the campaigning. And just a busy schedule. But anyway, I'm more motivated than ever. I'm excited about the world. I'm excited about life. Even when we look at the headlines and we just shake our head and go, my gosh, it's getting crazier and crazier. But I'm just excited about things.
Well, I'm glad you're out there, because at the end of the day, my wife and I sit down and, have a glass of wine on the couch, and we're of course talking about the day's events and what's going on with the kids' schools and what kind of a future we're handing over to them, and what kind of options and opportunities they're going to have. And it's a little demoralizing when I try to keep positive with my outward public persona, because I do think there is a little bit of hope out there because of people like you. And the doggy's back there. Awesome. And but it's tough because it seems like where we used to have this thing we could all rally around, and it was the First Amendment. Regardless how you thought about anything else, as Americans, that was our thing. We would stand up for your right to say whatever, even especially if we disagreed with you. That was the main part. As Americans, I'm standing up for you, especially if I disagree with you. And that's what made us different than most of the world. And the best ideas would come out in debate, and the best ones filter to the top, the marketplace of ideas. I mean, that was what we could all rally around. Now, that does not seem to be there. Now, we're using this First Amendment to divide. It seems like politicians have caught on to the same things that some of the tech companies have known for a long time, which is, hey, they can make money from this division. And politicians are realizing that they can mobilize bases with this division by further dividing people. And the First Amendment is now fair game. And it seems like this, and cancel culture, of course, feeds right into it. So instead of us having this debate and hoping that whoever's idea is the best for all of us filters up to the top there, well, now guess what? If we don't agree with each other, cancel. And that is, that's what worries me more than anything else. Like, we can debate about most other things, and that's the whole point of it. But when you're shutting down that debate and stifling what might be a good
Yeah.
idea, well, that seems to me that now we're in new territory as a country right now. And so that's really what worries me. And you're in the front lines of that. You have a show, so you're saying what you think each and every day. You have a book, and you're up there on stage. So your whole life is really revolving around that First Amendment and allowing you to do what you do by this God-given right. And that's what really worries me, probably more than anything else when I think about it, is the council culture that's out there, that's where we don't have Americans standing up for the First Amendment and standing up for those with whom we disagree.
And you know the old adage, like, I may disagree with you in what you say, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it, right? When I was at the University of Georgia, right in the center of campus, we had a little platform underneath a little oak tree there, and it was called the free speech platform. And if you just, in the middle of the day, you're walking by there, you got something on your chest, you want to get it off, you can step up on that platform and start talking. Maybe people will listen and maybe they won't, right? And that concept is dead, right? Like, that idea is gone. And what I keep telling people, and it's kind of the principles of the book. When I wrote this book, for me, it was kind of my common sense guide to the end of the world. It's like little short rantings about various topics that are going on, whether it's personalities that make the headlines, or how culture's attacking our parenting or our government, all these various cultural things. But you mentioned something. You sit around the table, you talk to your wife, you talk to your kids, and at the end of the day, as a parent, I'm a parent of 5. It's your responsibility to build identity into those kids, into that next generation. And so we expect the schools to do it, but schools aren't going to do it because they've just become brainwashing institutions. They're just really kind of, picking apart our kids and shaping their minds the way they want it to go. And that ultimately benefits that culture they want to foster. And then we send them off to college, right? And they don't really know who they are. They don't have a sense of identity and know where they're going. So there's no sense of destiny. And so when they graduate after 4 or 5 years and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a quote education, they got a degree in what? Undecided. They don't know who they are. I read a statistic years ago that said since the advent of social media, that people change careers 7 times by the age of 35, because there's so many things that are thrown at us and we really don't know. And the majority of people who are in a career don't use the degree that they went and got. So when you look at something like that, we've got to shape that identity, because if you don't, then you wind up with people who are insecure in themselves. And if you're insecure with who you are, you don't know how to handle a differing opinion. You take it as an offense, right? And so now we live in this offended culture where people are collecting offenses like currency. Well, you can't spend offendedness, but people collect it, right? You look at the Dave Chappelle special that everybody's talking about right now. The cancel culture came after him because of things that he said. And he's like, I'm not going to apologize. This is cancel culture. Give me more of it. And that's why, the byline of my book there is an unapologetic patriot takes on the insanity of today's woke world. You got to be unapologetic, because if you start apologizing, you will keep apologizing. And that offended culture, that lack of identity culture, is going to come at you, and they're going to want to wipe you off the scene. And so that's why I say, in the world of comedy, doing what I do, I love everybody. I love everybody, especially when they buy tickets to my show. I really love them. Or they go to watchchat.com and buy a book, or they buy a shirt, And we love to offend. I mean, look at this shirt, 1776, bitches. That's kind of my motto right there. I want us to be that free.
That's probably your least offensive shirt. I've seen a bunch of them. They're fantastic.
Right? We put this stuff out there because I want to trigger people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean I don't love you. Like, I love you, but I'm going to reserve the right to make fun of you, right? Because if I'm going to make fun of me, and I'm in the comedy business, mocking is in the job description. So I don't care if you're gay, straight, black, white, fat, skinny, trans, or how you identify, or what your gender pronouns or any of that is. I'm going to make fun of you. Like, that's what we do. And it's okay. But I think that people need to get some sense of identity. And I go on, God forbid, I go on TikTok, right? And I start seeing these videos of these people says, okay, I'm going to identify as a this, and this. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, your parents really did a poor job of giving you a sense of identity, right? And the world is just going to keep disappointing you because we don't know who we are.
So the TikTok thing, I just recently got an account just so no one else would get one. and the Jack Carr USA, and I didn't want some 16-year-old kid just getting that or whatever. So my web designer grabbed it, and then he said, "Hey, do you mind if I put up a couple of videos?" And I said, "Yeah, no, go ahead. No, you can do that one. I do the Instagram, I do the Twitter, I think the Facebook repost from the Instagram. But anyway, there's too many things to juggle for one person. So he's got the TikTok, but I put up a picture of just me shooting some steel. Just shooting some steel. That's it. I think it was 50, 75, 100 with an out of the box SIG with a red dot sight on it. Bam. That's it. It got flagged for illegal activity and taken down. Yeah. I mean, and then the kids show me some of the other stuff that's on TikTok. Holy, that's insane.
I know. Look,
like Jack, not illegal to shoot some steel. It's fine. Nothing's illegal about that. But yeah, that's what they threw the label illegal activity on them. Not selling anything, not selling one thing. But anyway, it's just amazing how much power these different platforms have. And we're walking essentially right into an L-shaped ambush where you have half the political spectrum over here, maybe even more. And then you have big tech over here. And in the military, you walk into that ambush. And so it's not like this, you're not shooting each other, but the L-shaped ambush, for those that are watching, you got fire going this way and fire going this way, and you're caught in the middle. And it seems like those of us that hold some of these conservative values and views and want to hand off to the next generation some of the same opportunities and freedoms that we had growing up are walking right into that ambush. And it's just because there are no other places to go if you want to have these different platforms and essentially build a business online that people couldn't have done 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Well, now that's a part of having a business, is having this online presence. So it's just tough. It seems like we're walking right into this ambush. And another part of that is when you think about, let's say 2000-ish, I think that's probably the first time I started noticing it, a little bit past maybe, is when certain voices would go to college campuses and they'd get shouted down. They would be, people breaking things, whatever it was, so that a certain viewpoint could not have a platform on a college campus. And so what happened? Yeah. Most of the college administrators, they bowed down to that. And so these kids who are in college saw that it worked. They saw that being offended and throwing these temper tantrums and shouting down people who you didn't agree with, not debating them, but just shouting them down, it worked because they got the administrations to take the action they want, which was to not allow that voice on campus. So guess what? That person who was 20 years old in 2005 who did that, well, how old are they now? And where are they? And in what industry? And that same tactic is working across the board, whether it's in their specific industry or what they do outside of their job by piling on to cancel other people just on the personal side of their lives. So that was a real turning point, I think.
Yeah, cancel culture is an interesting phenomenon, and it really is a cultural fight to the death, right? They want you off the map. They want you off the scene. And listen, that's not a left issue or a right issue. We try to assign that to the people we disagree with. Oh, you're trying to cancel me. No, that's everybody. Everybody, again, is so thin-skinned in this day and age. They just don't want to hear the voices that they disagree with. That's why I encourage people. Again, I go back to the world of comedy. And there's two places, Jack, that you should be. There should be free speech, and that speech should make you uncomfortable. One is the pulpit in the church, and another is the comedy stage, right? They should be places that cause introspection, discomfort, self-analysis, a motivation to change how you are. And believe it or not, comedy should do that. But the churches have gotten watered down, right? They're just motivational speeches and another place to get a good cup of coffee in the lobby. And then, the comedy stage has now become a place where the craftsman doesn't work for laughs. He works for applause, he or she. And so that's not it. And I think that when you look at guys historically like George Carlin or Lenny Bruce, these guys went to jail over telling jokes. They made a sacrifice for free speech. And whether you agreed with their jokes or not, you got to respect that sacrifice. And these days, we're kind of dumping that out. Like when Jerry Seinfeld, who is not offensive, says, I'm not going to go on a college campus anymore because, it's just not worth it. Or Kevin Hart, makes a joke about his fear of his son becoming gay because he's playing with a Barbie dollhouse. And he tweets that 10 years ago. And cancel culture comes after him. And now he has to go on this apology tour, all across the country. And every time he's on TV, he's on like Ellen. And I mean, he's like, I don't know when Ellen got to absolve sins, like she's the gay pope or something, but like, that's where he was doing it. And I'm like, Kevin, stop apologizing. You made a joke. It's about your kid. I get it. You offended some people. I'm good friends with, I'm going to throw him under the bus here. I'm good friends with Larry, the cable guy. And I texted Larry a couple of years ago. I just lay in there in bed one night and I started writing a parody of The Night Before Christmas. And I did it from the perspective of if Santa Claus were gay, okay? And there were two gay Santas and they're at the North Pole and they're having a jolly good time, right? And it was just a night at the North Pole. And so anyway, they found a stray cat and it goes down and it's a real funny punchline when it gets down to it. I would tell you, but I'm not. And so I send this to Larry, the cable guy, and I said, dude, I said, I can't do this joke anywhere. You can't do it. I said, but send it to somebody who can because it's a good one. So it's just not going to fit my audience. And years ago, Larry, he got stuck with the gay community that really came after him over some jokes. And he told me, he said, man, if I ever go after the gay community again, he said, with jokes, he said, it's not just going to be seasonal, right? Not just going to be a Christmas joke. He said, because you got to realize that regardless of what community is, and you can flip-flop that because I've been attacked by everybody, including conservatives. Man, I took a picture the other day with my friend Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman's a friend of mine. I've known Troy for a while. And we did a benefit for breast cancer Sunday. And I took a picture, posted it on my social media. And man, they came after me, right? Because that hot mic thing with him and Joe Buck talking about the flyover and the new administration. And people interpreted that all different ways. And man, it's like the conservatives are coming at you ready to cancel you because how dare you take a picture with a guy like Troy Aikman? I'm like, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback for crying out loud. Of course I'm going to post a picture with him. So that's the insanity of the world we're living in, man. Nobody's exempt from it.
Nope. And it is both sides for sure. And, I used to think that and maybe it is more one side than the other. I think I'm safe. I think that's true. I mean, that's obviously I have no data in front of me to back that up, but I think I'm safe in saying that. I think that's true. But at the same time, we're not exempt on the right-hand side, on the conservative side of thing, on the side that is for free speech and debate and the marketplace of ideas. Well, those people who say those things, some of them, I mean, they're like, if you post a picture of an actor or like you did, let's say I really like the movie Red Dawn, so I post that and then on the date that it came out.
Yeah.
Multiple people will find an actor in Red Dawn who said something anti-gun at some point or that supported a Democratic candidate, and they will get all angry that I posted a poster of Red Dawn from 1984. So you're what? And then they took time to do that. Like you only have a certain amount of time on this earth, and you get to choose how you're going to spend that time, what you're going to do with that time, how you're going to influence those around you with that time. And you choose to be negative and tear down based off almost nothing. So it just shows me just how people are pre-programmed now to be triggered and angry based on things that should not make you angry.
No, they should.
I'm just saying I liked Red Dawn. That's it. But it doesn't even have to be that. It could be anything. It could be a book I put up. Hey, I love this book. Someone will find something. Or, hey, I love this other movie. I put a picture of Commando up the other day. So 1985, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, I mean, it was just anger about the freedom thing that he said. And I wasn't saying anything about that. I'm just saying Commando was fun when I was in 6th grade. That's it.
Yeah.
I moved.
Yeah, I had a crush on Alyssa Milano, and I don't like
oh,
her
yeah.
now, but
that's it. I've done that before. People mention Alyssa Milano in that movie. She's not even on the movie poster. I mean, maybe her name is that you can't even read, but very angry. People get very, very angry about that. And, that's not the left that's jumping on that there and doing that. That's people that you would think would be about free speech and ideas and all these other things. They just get very angry. So I think, man, it's just, and that discourages me. So when I see things like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, if we're getting upset about Alyssa Milano from a 1985 movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger that was fun when you're 10, 11, 12 years old, it's kind of cool. Today, all these years later, that's what's making us all angry. And then you want to attack me over it it's not a big deal, right? But it just goes to show just how programmed people are to get upset. Instead of swiping by it and just moving on, they get in there and now have a platform to attack you. It's very odd.
It really is. And you especially, I've told you in the past about how much I admire your Instagram, because like you're meticulous, dude. Like you go in, you type out all these, today in history, and you spell out, you got 6 pictures that walk you through a narrative of things that happen. And then you'll do like, authors, right? And these creators that are out there. And sometimes you'll read the comments and it's like, oh, this guy was a neo-Marxist. And, these people who suddenly everybody's an expert on everything and every person. So I admire you for sticking it out there the way you do, man. It's look, at the end of the day, you just got to do it, right? Yeah. You just got to put it out there. And I go back to the old adage, those that mind don't matter and those that matter don't mind. Yeah. And you have to understand where we're coming from, right? You and I are, using a craft, yours in your way, mine in my way, to impact culture, And so, like when I read your books, when I read a James Reese novel, and I'm reading this character, to me, and it's something that Glenn Beck said about Brad Thor a while back, and it stuck with me, about him writing not fiction, but faction. And you do that. Like when I read your books, I'm like, I'm learning something, I'm being educated. I mean, my God, I've spent more money on gear because of your stupid books, Jack.
Nice. Love it. Love it.
I mean, you not only talk about it in the book, you send out a freaking guide, dude. Like you have like a map to all the stuff that you can kill people with. And I remember I had a fun conversation with our mutual friend, Clint Emerson, a while back. He's coming on my show again next week,
nice.
But I texted Clint one day and I said, I know you like fixed blade knives. Do you prefer like half face blades or Amtech? And he goes, do Amtech. He said, because if I'm going to gut a human being, that's what I would want. And I was like, well, I was kind of opening letters, You
have more options with the opening letters thing. So you got to preface that. You got to be specific with Clint when you're talking about these things, because you're definitely going to get a direct answer.
I was talking to my buddy Spencer Corson. Spencer's got his safety trap book out, and he was on my show, and we were talking about Clint. Clint's got 100 Deadly Skills and Right Kind of Crazy and all those books out that just really tell you how to get away from things and kill people. And then Spencer's book is all about how to not get into danger. And he made the comment about Clint's books. He said, listen, if you're reading Clint's books, it's because you didn't read mine. Like if you're already bound in the trunk wanting to know how to get out, you should have read my book and you would have never been in the trunk.
That's so funny. I was watching that video last night because I was looking at how to pick handcuffs. I just wanted to see what Clint was saying. And as part of that video, he's like in the trunk showing you how to get out and what years have the glow in the dark thing and which don't and how to do that. So that was, Clint's awesome. And that was fun when we came on your show that day. Yeah, he's fantastic. But also it's interesting. So when you bring up characters in books, so for me, that's kind of what I do through the novels is that, you think you're pulling a political thriller off the shelf, a spy novel off the shelf, but at the same time, you're getting an education in hunting and conservation, or my characters and then mine opinion on Second Amendment restrictions or whatever it might be. And people get very angry about that too. When I go to the Amazon reviews, I read some negative reviews every now and again, and I'll flip through and I'll see these things. And for me, there are plenty of books out there where the protagonist is armed all the time, no matter what state he's in or what country in the world they are in. And they never mention whether it might be legal or illegal and his thoughts on that, or maybe even her thoughts on that. Well, my character is going to have some thoughts on that. If he's going to California and he's going to think about that. There are plenty of books that play it safe and aren't going to mention that at all. And their character is going to have no political affiliation. And that's interesting because most of the people that I served with, went down range with, went into combat with, they had opinions on things, and they had opinions, especially about the Second Amendment and serving their country and then coming home and maybe not being allowed to carry a weapon and protect their family if they so choose in a certain state. So I weave all that in. And that's just how it's going to be. There are plenty of every other book almost you can go to and pick that one if it's going to offend you that my character has some opinions on these things. Because I'm not going to change just to hope that I don't offend someone or that I appeal to more of the masses. No, my character's going to have opinions on these things. That's how it goes. If you don't like it, there are plenty. Luckily for you, there are thousands of other books out there to choose. And that's what's great about this country. You're allowed to do that. So it's very interesting.
You know what, James? Jack, one of the things that people have to realize though is it's being thrust upon us whether we want it or not. Like for instance, right here in the state of Texas, and it's happening all over the country, right? They're starting to do these vaccine mandates, and the mandates are for like the National Guard. If you don't, or even the Texas State Guard, if you don't get it, then you're going to get a dishonorable discharge. And some of our military, if you don't get a dishonorable discharge, well, that means you can't buy a firearm, right? If you get dishonorably discharged,
I don't know. Is that the same as a felony? I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I mean, there's whatever article that is that like I'm like that's one of the ramifications is you can't even buy a firearm going forward. But that in and of itself, like whether you want this or not, there's so many ways. It doesn't matter how offended you get, and that's the point that I keep making is it doesn't matter how offended you get by content or creators. Like it's getting thrust upon you, right? And these are things that are happening. That you have to have discussions with people now because you say, "Well, I just want to leave politics out of it." Well, the problem is politics has decided not to leave you out of it. Like it's coming at you, and so it's a nasty, gnarly deal that's out there, man.
Oh yeah.
And but I know I get it. I see people all the time. They're like, "Yeah, we can't watch your show because you go too far on this or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, well, understand that there's a certain element of entertainment value to it as well." You know, like somebody came to me and they came to a political event. They said, "Man, you sure are different when you're talking about politics and policy in the state." You know. And I said, well, you know, imagine if I'm a plumber and I go out there and I deal in pipes and crap all day long. I don't come home and just dig into my toilet and start messing with the ball valves. You know, there's a real person and then there's the entertainment person as well. And I said, you know, when it comes to, you know, being serious about certain things, I know when to be serious. And I don't think a lot of times folks don't know how to separate that these days. So it's a real thing. It's coming for us no matter what.
Yep. No, and it's, I mean, what's great about your show, what's great about comedy is that you force people to think. That's why I think it's so important for people that don't agree with you to watch your show, be entertained by your show, and maybe even think about things a little bit differently because because you're a likable guy, you're saying things sometimes in a very humorous way, and you're causing people to think, conservatives and liberals, and it's fantastic. But you know, going back to the college campus thing real quick, I think before, let's take it back, let's say 70s, 80s, 90s. I think you could still go, and even though all these institutions from were very left leaning for the most part, you weren't bombarded constantly through your phone with these this very left leaning, threatening, like you must believe this, or you could go and you could kind of figure things out. People weren't yet being shouted down if they had a conservative point of view, and you could go and listen to them. You could read different books. You could talk to different professors. You could sit there and listen and kind of think about it yourself. You weren't constantly bombarded in class, out of class, any electronic device you turn on, anything you turn on TV, whatever it might be. It wasn't so constant and so almost one-sided, especially on college. You had time to grow. And I feel like now, it seems it's much more difficult to use that time, to use those 4 years for your undecided degree to actually grow and put some thought into things, to build a foundation in maybe history, writing, whatever interests you. Maybe you're going to use it later in life, maybe not, but to use that time to grow. Now it is just like you get on our side or else. And here's your talking points, and you're just repeating because you're retweeting. You're not looking at the tweet and then thinking, oh, you know what? I don't really know that much about this. Let me put the requisite time, energy, and effort into the study of whatever this issue is, the historical background of it, and then come back, and then maybe I'll retweet or not, because the person who just tweeted that probably did not put the time, energy, and effort into studying the issue either. They just have a platform and just shot something off. So there's not that pause between, okay, and the retweet or the piling on with whatever you think you're supposed to say because you've been programmed that way from big tech and friends and everything else over the last X number of years. There's not that pause to take a breath. And that's why it's so important to read, because reading, you're turning off, or you're at least away from your phone a little bit. I recommend putting it in another room, sitting down, read, diving in to this book and not having your phone right there for the distraction, but reading this book. And you get to some of these and some of the chapter titles are hilarious, by the way, but you get to something and you're like, I mean, blame the dog, smelly women, crazy feminist, toxic masculinity, 50 Shades of Grey. That's a good one because it's such a good point that you make in that one. And they're bratty kids. The tyranny of the 3-year-old. So the chapters are hilarious. Your mom writes the foreword, which is great. I love that. But taking the time to sit down with whatever book it is and just read, think, let it settle. Go, if something interests you in here that you find out about, you want to know a little bit more. Well, guess what? There's some other books out there that can help build that foundation even further. So I think it's just so important to not be constantly bombarded, not constantly be retweeting, not constantly be offended, not constantly be triggered. But take a breath and study and read. So that's and this is a fantastic one to jump in with for people that don't know who you are out there and don't know what you're doing and what your message is. And I just love that you when you speak, you actually require people to think. And it's fantastic.
Well, I appreciate that. And I say, we wrote that. I wrote that. It was pretty short chapters. I call it a bathroom book. And right now there's no toilet paper on the shelf. So it can be a consumable book. You can just use it as toilet paper and go buy another book. I'm all for the consume the book and buy method of getting onto the bestseller list. But that book, I've always been a firm believer in trying to take common sense, wrap it in humor, and make it an easier pill to swallow. Sometimes it requires a little humor, and it doesn't matter what side you're on. Obviously, I write from a conservative perspective because I think that way. But I want people to find themselves kind of nodding and going, "That's a good point," and laughing along with it, and walking away going, "Okay, this guy, he's definitely crazy, but he made me think about a couple of things." Yeah. So I hope people will get the book. I hope they'll enjoy it. And I'm going to work. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to finish. I started a while back. I'm going to write a book. It's a fiction book. I'm writing a book about a guy from 1885 who's a cowboy in the West who happens into this wormhole, and he travels into 21st century America. And here's this rough as a cob guy who's had to shoot his way out and make his way. And now he's thrust into a whole new world. And so I started playing with that in my imagination a while back. And I thought, that could lead to some pretty violent encounters.
Probably immediately. Yeah.
I'm actually working on a piece of fiction that I think will be fun for readers as well.
Nice. Yeah. It wouldn't take too long, I don't think, because people were a lot more polite back then because there were consequences to your actions. You didn't have this digital courage. I forget who told me that. Someone told me about digital courage and, kind of like liquid courage, but digital behind that keyboard. And you're just, and who else? I think Andy Stump was saying, he tells his kids, hey, don't put anything online that you wouldn't say to somebody if you were locked in an elevator with them.
Yeah.
That's
right.
That's good advice, I think. Be polite. I mean, obviously it's good to have a backup plan and be prepared to take anybody out that threatens you or your family with violence. But at the same time, be kind. Be kind.
Yeah.
But not saying anything to someone you wouldn't say to them if you were stuck in an elevator with them is a good, I think, way to frame it for kids.
I do a comedy bit about what the world would be like if we still had duels, and just how it would be, how it'd be different. Like you just walk up and slap somebody in the face with your glove and say, this on. It'd be a lot nicer. People wouldn't get as offended as easily.
Yeah, you think twice. Like, what? It forces you to think twice. Like, is that worth it? I don't know.
Right.
That guy looks pretty quick. That guy looks pretty quick to go to the gun. I might not want to be as rude as I was contemplating being. So I think you're into it. I think that guy coming into the future from that time, and people not always ask me. I've been asked like, hey, when would you like to have grown up or have been born? And I think 1855 would be a good year to be born, because I think you'd be 18 when the Colt Single Action comes out. So I think that's you're quick. 18 is pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, you might not have the wisdom, but you have the reflexes. So I think it'd be a good time. Then you can build that wisdom over the years. So I don't know. I think that might be a good time to be out, because hey, people were maybe a little more polite back then because there were consequences. Yeah. But hey, how did the show come about? Like, how did the Glenn Beck studio and how did all that come about? And I love what he says about you on the cover, by the way. Chad is a verbal cannon with common sense. I love it. And speaking of common sense, Karl von Clausewitz, who wrote On War, he said that one of the most important attributes of a combat leader is common sense. And that's why when people with no military background haven't spent any time in the pages of books on strategy or tactics or whatever else, are looking at what happened in Afghanistan and can say, it seems like we rushed that at the end there. And why did we give up Bagram in our embassy and put all those soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines at that gate where everybody was congested? And that doesn't seem to make sense. Yeah, because you have common sense, whoever is saying that, which is lacking in some of our senior level leadership, both civilian and military. So yeah, it's that common sense piece. So I love that he said that, a verbal cannon with common sense. But how did that all come about? How did you get this show, and how did that transpire?
Glenn's such a gracious guy. He's super smart too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't quite live on the same planet the rest of us do. But I was doing a podcast. I've always run my mouth. I was doing television and radio, and then I went viral because again, that term viral is so funny to me. For me, I'd be going in to do a television show at the studio years ago. I was doing a cable network. And I'd be sitting in traffic, and I just pop my camera phone up on the dashboard of my truck, and I would record these 60-second videos. It's kind of my therapy in traffic. And I'd post them, and they wound up going viral. Millions of people started watching this craziness. And my mother, I can remember, she called me on the phone, and this was like 2014, 15. She said, "Are you sick?" And I said, "No, why?" And she said, "Because somebody told me at church that you went viral." And I said, "They're talking about my Facebook and my Twitter." She said, "You're too old to be messing with your Twitter." And I said that I didn't have the nerve to tell her about my Snapchat. But, so out of that, I started podcasting. I've always kind of been the person who would talk to anybody as long as they'd stand still or walk slow. And so I found this medium of podcasting and started doing that. And I was with Podcast One out of Beverly Hills, and I was doing that for a while. And then the guys at Levin TV or CRTV, they came to me and they said, "Hey, we want to do it, but we want to do a video formatted podcast." And so they wound up merging with Blaze, which of course was Glenn Beck's deal. And I kind of got thrown in there by default. That was 3 years ago. And so now it's not even a podcast, Jack. It's more like a TV show with commercials and the whole thing. It's on Monday through Thursday night. We're about to add a Friday night episode at the first of the year. And I like this type of long form podcast. I miss it. And I'm going to go back to doing some more of it. I'm probably going to do a show called Chad Prather Unapologetic. And we'll just see how it goes. But man, they've been so good to me, man. They're a blessing. Hopefully they'll continue being good to me because my contract is up at the end of the year. And I've kind of gotten used to being in that studio. You've seen it. It's phenomenal.
Love it.
It's a great studio in there. And no, it's just been a blessing, man. We live in a great world. We can make a living running our mouth or typing our words and just kind of recreating ourselves into the minds and hearts of people. And it's a blessing to be able to do that. I used to drive down the street and I'd see the billboards on the side of the highway that had the news anchor team on there. And I was like, yeah, I could do that job. I could do that. If I could just figure out a way to do it. And then of course the advent of social media came around and I thought, well, hey, this is almost like owning your own television network. I can put whatever content on there I want. And I was fortunate enough to kind of win that lottery and it went out. My little truck videos have now been viewed over 2 billion with a B times on Facebook.
That's crazy.
Alone. So, dude, that's a lot of wasted time for people. What that is, a lot of wasted time. But it's insane what this world we're living in can do in terms of being able to get your voice out there. So I tell people, I say, we got to fight more than ever for that free speech. We really do. Because it's I've got a chapter in the book. I did a video back in 2017 in my truck, and I named a chapter. It says, "Yes, I beat my kids." And they tried to send me to Facebook jail a couple of weeks ago by digging that 4-year video up, 4-year-old video up. And it was talking about when I played my kids when they were growing up, and I was playing them in chess or something like that. I didn't let them win. And so, again, you see the title, which, of course, is provocative, and they think, oh, this is about child abuse or some kind of graphic. I was like, no, I just never let my kids win because I don't believe in participation trophies. I want you to earn it. And I joke about, I'm going to paint the wall with the blood of your knights and pawns. It's so, it's stuff like that you put stuff out there and they come at you and they just want to, like you mentioned, shoot and steal, man. Hey, by the way, do you get nervous? Like you're a Navy sniper. You're a SEAL sniper. Will you go out there and they're standing around watching you shoot and they hit that buzzer? Does it make you nervous? Like I'm about to shit the bed.
not, I mean, I have
Or you
such
feel
a,
pretty
the
confident going
foundation is
into it?
fairly solid there. So it's not like, I just picked it up a year ago, or I just picked it up a few weeks ago,
Right.
and now it's my time. Now finally someone is videoing me. It's, and I realize, hey, if I mess it up, I learn. So kind of like jujitsu, you win or you learn. Same thing in trance. Why it's called
Yep.
training. We're out there to learn, and it's a perishable skill, obviously, but the foundation is fairly solid. So I don't get overly nervous about that sort of thing. It's more fun. But I got very lucky on that video when I went 50, 75, 100 out of the box. Because it was legit out of the box, and that's what I'm like. All right, champ retires on top. You also got to know when to retire. You got to know when to step away and retire on top. So
I see your video shooting, and I'm like, obviously, I expect to be impressed, right? When you do it, then I see other people, and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a little nervous for them already. But I'm like, I know they're going to hit it, or they wouldn't have posted the video, right? So
yeah, sometimes unless it's a blooper, unless there's a blooper. I don't think I've ever have done a retake on anything like that before. Not saying I wouldn't. Especially if we're going for something specific. But, when you're at Tearing Tactical on the range out there's so many people around, and they have high expectations, like you just said, but there's no retake. I mean, you're going, and everybody has a phone out. So if you do retake it, people are going to know. So you just got to do it. You just got to go. And that's just how it is.
I did a video. We did a shooting competition. I guess it's been about 2 years ago. We were doing it for social media, and we were out at a friend's ranch, and I took a 9mm, a Glock 19, had the chamber open, and I took the round and I put it on the end of the barrel, and I flipped it up. It went in, and I closed the chamber, and I shot. It was beautiful, except I missed the target.
Oh man, we call that. I found that's called fixing it in post. So on the set of the Terminal List for Amazon, they're filming an 8-part series for my first novel with Chris Pratt, and that's a term that I came to understand over the last year of filming. Is like fix it in post. We got to get to the next scene. Right. So that's how I was framing 2020. I said, hey, we're gonna fix it in post, and 2021 was supposed to be post. But post-production in 2021 doesn't look. We're still messing it up. We still have some editing to do. We still have some work to do on our nation. And speaking of that, like a part of it for me also is that all of these inputs, it seems, encourage us to not forgive, to forget about having grace and dignity, and encourage us to act in the opposite way. And if we can't learn to forgive one another, to disagree with one another without wanting to cancel each other, it's like we're up for a rough road ahead. And I don't know how, as a nation, we turn this around, especially when both politicians and tech companies have seen the value of division for themselves, not for the country, but for them. And so I'm just not sure how we get back on track. And that's probably what worries me more than anything else.
Yeah, we've got a lot of turmoil and a lot of pressure from without and within. Because let's face it, you're a man of conviction. I'm a man of conviction. Everybody we know, they have their convictions. I've always said, you cut somebody, they bleed their version of red, white, and blue. They have their sense of patriotism. It doesn't matter which wing they're on or where they describe themselves. But there's a lot of pressures on the outside. Big media, big tech, Silicon Valley, they love us divided. They really do. And grace is a beautiful thing. That's why I say I don't judge anybody. Like I make fun of everybody because that's kind of my job, and it just comes natural. But I make fun of me more than anything, and I know that as a flawed human being, the New Testament says we have this treasure in earthen vessels. I like to say we have God's glory in cracked pots. And so you have to learn to admire each other's cracks and our flaws and our faults, and learn to accept somebody warts and all. And we've gotten to the point where we start focusing on those things so much. So an ounce of grace and a little bit of forgiveness and a little mercy really goes a long way, man. And we need more of it in this day and age. That's for sure.
I think so. And I know you have campaigning to do, so I'm going to let you go here in a few minutes. But when we circle back to seeing people who were traditionally thought of as very left-leaning, particularly in the comedy space, let's say like a Bill Maher, and he looks at something from a logical perspective, and he throws a little comedy in there. Every now and then he throws some common sense in there. I think he looks long-term and sees what used to be able to say would be his side. coming back and eating themselves. Like if people on the left are attacking a Bill Maher or a bunch of other people who it's come back to get, wow, we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Well, you take a guy like Bill Maher who just like he gets it right, and again he just gets it, and so he sees the circular firing squad, and you start devouring your own, and that logical and philosophical house of cards it kind of falls in on itself with just a breath of common sense. And a guy like Bill Maher, who he and I are not going to agree on the political spectrum in a lot of ways, we get it in the common sense area, and I do agree with him. I'm started playing more and more of his clips on like my show, and then you take a guy like our mutual friend Joe Rogan. Like Joe is speaking out more and more on things because Joe's got he's got common sense in spades, man. And I tell people, I'm like, Joe probably would have left it all alone until y'all started coming and messing with his money. Like when y'all came after you come after a dude's woman and his wealth, you got a problem. Like that's going to be an issue right there. And so that's when Joe just kind of came out swinging it. And I'm pretty proud of him for doing it, standing up. And of course he's getting attacked and we're seeing various folks who, when they take a stand, man, they're like, you're not supposed to do that. The puppet's supposed to bow down. You're supposed to play the part we gave you to play. Don't bite the master's hands. But you got to respect those guys who fight back and are people of conviction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But that's that hard part also is that all those people that we're talking about use platforms that are controlled by corporate entities that seem to have a way to make money that feeds in to their ideology. So it's, man, I tell my wife, I'm like, hey, don't be surprised when cancel culture comes around to get us. Like, it should not shock us when something happens. Like we shouldn't act surprised. So we need a plan now, have a plan in place now for when that happens, because that seems to be where we are headed as a society. So for those guys, they're still on these platforms, and lucky for them, they have a little more flexibility because of their audience. So it throws some of the tech senior leadership into a little bit of a conundrum. Like, this guy has 25 million people looking at this ad but he's saying this. So what are they? So that part's really interesting when you have a Bill Maher, Joe Rogan in that position. So it's a tough time. So I think that's going to be the battle. The next decade is going to be very telling as far as where we go and how we interpret the First Amendment in particular, as it pertains to corporate entities and all the rest of it. There's a lot to discuss there. And I think that's probably going to be one of the most pressing issues that we have to deal with in the next decade when we think generationally out in front. So, and of course, the Second Amendment is the one that guarantees that first one. But to have the First Amendment under attack is just crazy. And I always put these up there in a lot of my reading lists: Constitution, Bill of Rights, and in hardcover form for families, because it's different than just jumping online and typing in U.S. Constitution and scrolling through for a college kid, high school kid, to whatever you need. Like having them physically in a hardcover and in your house where people see them, it means it's different than when you Google something about the Kardashians. Like that, those don't go in the same bucket. But having these in hardcover in your home, that to the kids psychologically, I think it makes an impact. Like these are different than the other things out there that I might want to Google or jump on Amazon or buy or whatever it might be. So getting into it, and I hope some of our elected leaders open these and read them. Because
I know
for certain members of Congress, it seems like this is an impediment rather than, and especially this Bill of Rights, rather than a guarantee that's based on natural rights, God-given rights, not those granted by government. So, man, if we all had a foundation of understanding and people would take a breath and go read some of these documents and then go read some of the some of the histories that surround them and why these things are in place, I think you have a better perspective, a little more well-rounded perspective on most of the other pressing issues of the day.
No question about it. Yeah, I always say, to your point, I said we need a cultural bug out bag. Like, where are you going to go when the culture really shuts you down? But then I wish that our elected officials who have that delegated authority, and it is delegated, would spend as much time in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as they do on Twitter. I think we'd be living in a different place. That's for sure.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. That's what there are employees. We forget that as well. For whatever they don't like to remind us of that, but they are our employees. We pay them to be there, and yet we seem to be giving them and the government more and more power over us. So you're giving your employees more power over you and your responsibility that extends to providing for your family and protecting for your family. You're delegating a lot of that to government. I mean, wasn't that long ago where you had to go out and hunt to put food on the table, where you had to physically defend your family from the threat of violence. Well, now, let's say a very small portion of human history, now call 911 if you feel threatened, or go to the grocery store and get meat. So that's a very, so it's still in there. That's what gives me hope more than anything else, is that for the vast majority of human history, you had to defend yourself and your family and put food on that table. So it's in there. It's in the DNA somewhere in each and every one of us, because the only reason you and I are here is because we had ancestors somewhere along the line that were good at those two things. And only very recently did you not have to be good at those two things to survive, to prevail. So it's in there. It's in there, each and every one of us. You just got to tap into it and take a breath, do some study, and make some good decisions for future generations, because no doubt about it. That's why I'm so excited that you're running and you're stepping into politics, because we need good people in there. And you understand that the decisions we make today don't just affect us right now, they impact future generations. So, man, thank you for stepping up and stepping into the ring, because, man, I think I'm too thin skinned. Man, I don't think I could do it. I'm very good at the fighting part, and I'm very good at the just, hey, that's part. But the middle part, where you just put yourself out there as a target and just get shot by everybody, I'm not that good at that part. I don't like that part. And that's what really any public figure does. So I do it to an extent now. But really, when you step into that political ring, oh my gosh, I mean, you are just a target for everyone.
It is great.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I do encourage people, people say, what about the skeletons in your closet? I said, look, plenty of skeletons are just no closet. He said, we've got them arranged in the front yard like Halloween decorations, right? I just put all the skeletons out there. You can't hide anything anymore. But I do encourage people, go to Prather2022.com. Prather2022.com has our political stuff. And, if you care about Texas, and everybody should care about Texas, because so goes Texas. Really, so goes the rest of the free world. Texas is a big place that influences a lot. And I encourage people to get the book, check out the apparel, check out my show, the Chad Prather Show. You can go to watchchad.com. And so, we just have fun for a living, man. And it's a beautiful thing. But in the midst of having fun, we're trying to make a difference and really transform culture in a big way. So I'm in it, man. I'm in the thick of it in that regard. But I always appreciate your voice and everything you're doing, man, because, to the degree that cancel culture is out there, you're one of those guys with that value system that's just kind of taking it to them with an art that they can't deny. They can't deny it. And so it needs to be out there. The masses need to be consuming it. And so I appreciate what you do as well, man. And hurry up and get that 5th book out, okay?
I'm working on it right now. I'm on a deadline.
Work hard.
Yeah, no, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate it, because really, that other side, man, they very early on got education. They got Hollywood, which is our main export to the rest of the world. Professional sports now, academia, of course, like they've got most of it. So it's that's why it's so important for us as parents to do a good job with these kids and can instill in them that appreciation for our history and the reasons behind the freedoms that we have today. So, man, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Am I crazy? I love the title, like I said, and it is out there now. And also, you can link to all your social channels from the website, because you have a lot going on. And I hope I can get out there and see it in person soon. The set's amazing. I don't know if the location is super top secret, but it's a super cool place. I mean, what an awesome building you guys are in, and all the stuff in there is just amazing. I love that visit that we had there, and the set's cool too. I'm taking notes because we're in the midst of a move right now, so I'm moving into the new house and the new studio, and I was just thinking about all those whiskey bottles you had up there for a while in the background, and you can kind of switch those out, and it's just such a cool way that you have that set set up, and it's awesome.
It's a cool vibe in
Yeah,
there.
it really is.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Hey, you're always welcome, man. Come on anytime.
Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yeah, stay strong out there and keep fighting because you're on the front lines.
Thanks, brother.
Awesome.
Talk
man.
soon,
Take
Jay.
care. Later. Welcome to the gear highlight portion of the Danger Close podcast. I was recently on a hunt up in Alaska, and you can find out more about that at officialjackcarr.com. Hit the blog and find out more about the gear that I used on that trip. But a couple of the things that I used out there are Leatherman and Goalzero. So let's talk about the Leatherman first. Right here, that is an old Sheath right there. So that's my dad's old Sheath from an original Leatherman. And but I changed out the old Leatherman with the Wave. So the Wave is, I'm not sure they make this exact one anymore, but the Wave is probably my favorite Leatherman, and I've had a ton of them over the years. We have them in each vehicle. They're in drawers around the house. When I'm out in the backcountry, I always have one on me. But the Wave has been my favorite over the years. And this Sheath, just awesome. You can tell it's pretty beat up. It's been around. And I went to see if they still made the same one. And they don't make the same Sheath, but there's the newer Sheath that I got a couple of years ago. And of course, I had another Wave because 2 is 1, 1 is none. So another Wave, put that in here. And just in case I ever, I don't know, lose this Sheath or, but I want to hold this from my dad. But anyway, another Sheath, Wave Leatherman, awesome. And there's a bunch of different Leathermans out there, but this one has a clip on it. You can see right there. So you can clip that in your pocket, but been around for a long time. Great company. And I always have one on me when I'm out in the backcountry. And like I said, they're scattered about. Always good to have. So thank you, Leatherman. Awesome. Love what you're doing. And Goalzero. So this is the Nomad 3.5 right here. And use this out in the backcountry and works awesome. So powers up that right there. And of course, now our phones are our cameras for a lot of us. So I had my phone back there. So even though I didn't have service, I was using it as a camera. So I was charging that each and every day. And this one's the Nomad 50. So Goalzero right here. Took horses in this time in Alaska. So I didn't have to carry this because the Nomad 50 is probably not one you want to carry too far if you're going into the backcountry and expecting or hoping to come out a little heavier than you went in with a moose or an elk or whatever it might be. But this thing was awesome. So you open it up, it folds out, and it was very cloudy up there and overcast. And I wanted to test this out. I brought it in with, I think I had 5% on it. And even though it was cloudy, this thing charged this. And I probably could have just charged this before I went into the backcountry. It probably would have taken care of us for the whole 10, 11 days that we were out there. But it charged that up to 100% through the clouds. So awesome. Once again, fairly heavy. This is probably more of a horse packing thing or to have in your vehicle if you're car camping or something like that. So this is the Nomad 50. I want to get the Nomad 10, which was a little bit bigger than this right here. So Nomad 10 will be my next purchase. A little bit bigger. One of the guides had it out there and it worked great. So that'll be one of my next purchases. If you want to know more about that hunt and some of the gear that I used, you can go to YouTube and check out my video there. You can go to Instagram. I think I posted the video there as well, or hit officialjackcarr.com. Go to the blog, and the video is embedded in the blog post about the trip as well. So that is it. Thank you for tuning into the Danger Close podcast, an Ironclad original presented by SIG Sauer. Find out more about Chad Prather at watchchad.com and go to Prather 2022 to find out about his run for governor of Texas. His book, Am I Crazy?, is out now, available everywhere books are sold. You can find me at officialjackcarr.com. You can link to Jack Carr USA for the merch from there, and you can follow me on the social channels at Jack Carr USA. My latest book coming out this May 2022, In the Blood, is available now for pre-order. So check that out. And until the next time, stay safe, be strong, keep fighting.